to Metrolinx, and we'll talk about major events preparation and crowd safety. And we have Mark Hunan, Manager, Special Event Management at Metrolinx. Mark has 13 years of experience in safety, security, events, and customer service. He brings systematic solution-focused approach to event operations. At Metrolinx, Customer Protection Services, Manager of Special Events Management, Mark leads operational planning and execution for hundreds of major and minor events annually. Mark takes pride in building effective event operations to support frontline staff delivery for our customers. Mark, please go ahead. Where is Mark?
I'm going to be using this one here. It was a plane too. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. All right. Today we're going to be discussing how Metrolinx responds. Perfect. So today we're going to be talking about how Metrolinx responds to special events and the crowds that come with those events. So in my role, I lead the special events management team, which we complete preparedness operations for special events. We complete the event operational plans, and then we'll also serve as site commanders for those events at those stations. There's three main stations that really are impacted by events. So it's Downsview Go, Union Station, and Exhibition Go. We're going to be focusing on Exhibition Go for this conversation. Metrolinx's strategic goals are everyone safe, satisfied customer, trusted partner, and engaged people. We use these strategic goals as a guiding light when it comes to building our event operational plans, and then we use the KPIs built within them to observe if our operations ran successfully. This here is drone footage at Exhibition Go that was filmed just after an event let out. You'll see on the top of your screen here is BMO Field. The bottom of your screen here is the Go station. The stadium's ability to release a large amount of people quickly exceeds or sometimes exceeds the capacity that we have at the Exhibition Go station. Now, unmanaging, or if we do not manage the crowds as they approach our station, that large number of people could exceed our capacity. So we have to implement systems and processes that help manage and reduce that risk. So on the left-hand side here, you'll see one of our platforms at Exhibition Station. You'll see a large amount of people on the platform. This one here, I know the view is a little bit deceiving on the crowd density that is observed there. However, that is nearing our a full platform. You'll see a few different risks here. Not only the overall crowding that we're seeing in this area here. On one side, on the right-hand side of the platform, you'll see that there's a physical wall there, physical barrier. There's also electronic huts and different infrastructure on the platform that are physical barriers. If the crowd was to surge or move into the direction of those physical barriers, that's when we can have some crowd safety issues, crowd safety related injuries and crush injuries. If the crowd was to flow in the opposite direction, they could end up on the track bed. On the right-hand side, you'll see an image that's within our bridge. You'll see here that's a large crowd. It's moving through the bridge. They're going past a 90-degree corner, and they're moving down a staircase. When we have, or at this station here, we have a few different items that impact the flow of customers through the station. It's the 90-degree turns, it's the staircases, it's the changing of widths in the different corridors that we have within the property. Now, due to the size crowds that do approach the station here, we are required to implement a crowd safety system and a crowd safety system that can handle these large crowds that we witness at the station. So this is how we do it. We manage crowd flow through a crowd management valve. The system is designed for large crowds, and it holds a large amount of people in a safe, open space, and meters controls the amount of people that enter the station. So working into how the system actually operates. So in normal state, post-event, people are walking from what I showed you before, the top of the screen at the event, walking all the way down into our station. As people are approaching our station, they'll go ahead and walk through the roadway that's closed to vehicles. On the roadway here, they're walking between barriers. They're aligning people onto that safe area of the roadway, barriers on each side, and each one of those barriers also contains signage as well. The reason why we have people moving on to this area here of the roadway, and we have barriers controlling them or motivating people to stay in that area, is because that's a nice flat area for people to walk. If we weren't to have those barriers there, people would be walking towards curbs, and in large crowds, when your ability to visually see in front of you is impacted by the people who are right in front of you, the chance of there being a trip-related injury or a trampling type injury take place because of the curbs that are present there increases. So by motivating people to walk on the roadway, controlling people into a safe area, it creates a safer atmosphere. So as people continue to walk towards the GO station, they'll approach the valve. At the valve, there's a few things that they're going to witness. They're going to witness a large LED truck that has an LED screen, a variable screen. They're going to hear audio coming from the station. And they're also going to see an increase of the amount of staff. During the open state, people will continue to walk forward, and the audio will say, "Welcome to Exhibition GO Station," and it'll provide wayfinding information in English and French. Our LED screen will also provide wayfinding information that's visible from a distance. That's normal state. If we don't have any crowd safety concerns, then people will flow in normally and flow through the system without any metering or without any holds. If through observations done by our leadership members in key areas, if we observe crowd densities forming that could possibly be unsafe, then we'll go ahead and implement the activation of the crowd management system. So the crowd management system, what will happen is same thing. People are walking from the venue. They'll continue down the street, and then they'll notice that the crowd will be stopped. The crowd is stopped through Metrolinx informing Toronto Police to start stopping the crowd. So they will go ahead and the officers will have their hands up in the air and say, "Everyone, please wait here." Well, that's great if we only had to stop 20, 30 people. But a row of police officers doesn't stop a large crowd, especially when we're looking at a few thousand people approaching in a short time frame. So to be able to communicate with the large crowd, we'll go ahead and change the visual screen from a wayfinding screen to a stop screen. So visually shows a stop sign. It informs the crowd that we are nearing capacity and thanking everyone for the patience and asking them to wait. Our audio system will go ahead and switch from the wayfinding audio to a stop audio. It's asking everyone to wait, thanking everyone for the patience. We'll be reopening, or the station's nearing capacity will be reopening soon. So providing these three steps here, we're able to stop these large crowds, and they are largely compliant due to us providing the information that they require to understand what's going on, why am I doing this, why are people asking me to do this, and that's all completed through our communication systems. Now, the reason why we don't just use one of those systems is because they each have a value. The police officer stopping offers a physical barrier without actually putting physical barriers in front of the large crowds. The audio system provides context to people who are waiting in the crowd on why we're asking them to stop, what's coming up next. And then the visual there, the visual allows us to communicate with the back of the crowd. In this setting here, we have not only our trains operating, more trains than normal because we're running event service. We have the highway right behind us, and we also have thousands of people in the same area. So being able to communicate, not using audio, but using a visual technique is very valuable in communicating with the back of the crowd. And we know in crowd safety situations, as people, if there's a crowd safety incident, let's say there's somebody who's fallen and there's a trample related incident, it's the people at the back of the crowd as they continue to move forward that find themselves in an unsafe situation, but it's too late for them to stop because the people behind them are continuing to move forward. So if we can stop that back of the crowd using that audio and most of the visual system, we'll go ahead and we'll be able to reduce that risk of a crush-related incident that takes place. Now, you'll also see at the front of the line there, you see a few officers and a large crowd and then a large gap. So we stop people at the back of the intersection right here. Excellent. We stop people here and we leave this area here, the entire intersection wide open. And part of the reason why we do that is if at any point we lose control of the crowd, we can go ahead and open up. So the police officers move to the side because the crowd's pushing forward. We'll open up, we'll let the crowd flow into this large open space, and then we'll go ahead and reset. So we'll let the issue move forward, and it can hold a few thousand people in this area, just over 2,000 people. So we'll let it flow forward into the wide open area so it can expand and slow down, and then we'll reset right behind them, and we'll go ahead and put in a hold right behind them. So that is the quick overview on how our crowd management valve works. And this here shows some of the different systems that I've been discussing. So we're showing in the middle there, that's the LED truck that's on the wayfinding setting right now, directing people on where to go. On the right-hand side, I'll show an example of where our different signage goes along the barriers that align people along the street. Now, what I discussed here was an active crowd management system for large crowds. In complement to the active crowd management system, we also have a passive crowd management system. So passively, we are looking to best utilize our property to allow the highest rate of flow through the entire property that we own. So part of how we do that is we identify where the different origins and destinations of people who are moving through our property. We'll go ahead and map out what the best route is for them, and if we need to make a change to that route. The last thing that we want to see is anybody who's using our property to go to the north side of the tracks and everybody who's looking to get to the north platforms, all taking the tunnel, causing high congestion and unsafe conditions, but nobody using the bridge. So we want to divide the customer base to utilize the entire property. And how we do that is using this wayfinding signage. The audio also gives instructions for dividing the crowd to utilize our entire property. And you'll see that the signage that we have on the barriers there, Liberty Village is purple. The sign on the truck there, I know it's hard to see, that is purple there. Anybody who's looking to go to Liberty Village or go to the north side of their tracks, not only are following that verbiage, but they're also following that color all the way through our property. And same thing with our Go customers, they're following the Go signage and the Go color as they move throughout our property. Now, the operations that we have in the front of house as people approach our property is one aspect, but also our core business, moving people, is a major aspect to being able to flow the volumes of people through our property that we require. So there's a few things that we do to increase our flow rates. One of them is simply, we need more service. We need to have a higher capacity to move people, then that's something that we'll go ahead and provide. Now, adding more trains seems like the simple answer, and it is most of the time, but it isn't necessarily the whole answer. So in addition to adding additional trains, we'll go ahead and adjust what the service actually looks like at Exhibition Station. So on normal day-to-day operations, we may have a 1-minute dwell time, the time that the trains stop there with the doors open. that would be suitable for our normal ridership. But when we have a crowd, and you can see from that picture there, a few thousand people who are looking to get on a GO train, having a 1 minute dwell time isn't suitable for getting that large crowd in. And in some situations, like for example, during CNE, we can have crowds leaving for the day, let's say families and strollers at 4 p.m. who are leaving for the day. And then we also have anybody who's looking to come for half price tickets in the evening also getting off the train at the same time. So not only do we have a single direction, we have dual direction coming off our coaches and our trains. So our normal 1 minute dwell time isn't reasonable to move this amount of people. So we've gone ahead and implemented a process where it's actually modular. On site, on that platform there's a leader who is in control of the train movements at that station. And they'll visually observe if we need to hold the train for longer with the doors open, or if we can send it on time. A lot of times during these heavy outbounds, we can have a dwell time 6, 7, 8 minutes. And that's because we need that entire time. In other situations, we may not require that additional dwell time, so we'll go ahead and have the trains leave as scheduled. This allows us not only to be able to respond to these large crowds, but also prevents us from putting in a 6-minute dwell time when it's not needed and slowing down the entire operations. Now, this might be one of my favorite parts, and it's maybe one of the most boring, but this is how we document our events. So we use the IMS system that Roger actually spoke to in his presentation, or at least it was up there on the screen. The IMS system that is an incident management system that the government of Ontario operates. We follow many key aspects of that incident management process in creating our event operational plans to set out key foundation for us to move through this process. So we've gone ahead and taken that from a PDF version, and we've moved it over to a SharePoint model. We're able to easily share with all the staff that are involved in the event. This is not only event staff that are on site that need to quickly look at it, it's staff before they come on site and they're reviewing it on a computer, or all of our staff that are in network operations centers that need to know what's going on with the event. They're able to jump in here. The event operational plan shows information regarding the event. It shows the org, the event org, so the leadership org for that event. The staffing that is required, that's shown on a map, with each icon being one staff member that shows what they're doing there, where they're supposed to be, what equipment they require, and how long they need to be there for. Our temporary infrastructure, which we already spoke about, those barriers, the audio, the visual that's set up. The event timeline is one of the most important items because we have many different business groups that are working together at the same time that have different schedules. So for example, at the beginning of the day, our facilities teams will be on site setting up the temporary infrastructure. They'll stop as our customer service staff and safety staff will show up, and they'll use that temporary infrastructure that was set up. Once the event starts, our staff members will go on break, and then the facilities teams come back again, and they go ahead and set up for outbound. That's the additional barriers and the additional items that we have in place there. And then they'll go ahead and they'll stand down, and then our customer service staff and safety staff come back out again. If we are behind at all in any of our process, then customers and crowds are going to be coming out in an unfinished state, and that's not acceptable when it comes to mitigating crowd safety risks. So we have to be on track. If we're late, the event doesn't stop for us, so we have to make sure that we're prepared. Now we're going to go through a series of videos and drone footage from some of the major events that's taken place at Exhibition Go, and it'll really show the work that I just discussed. So in this one here, the valve is open. As you can see there, the barriers are in place along the side of the road, preventing people from walking in uneven terrain. There's the signs are in place there. In the distance, you can see the LED truck providing wayfinding, and you can't hear the audio, but the audio is playing right now, and the crowd's just moving as they may. This here's the transition to the valve closing. So we're approaching 80% of our capacity. We'll go ahead and request a valve closing. So Metrolinx will tell Toronto Police to go ahead and start stopping the crowd. the visual will go ahead and change from a open wayfinding to a stopped stance, and the audio will change as well. One of the key items looking here, you can see when we start to stop the crowd, the density of the crowd on the roadway increases. So that means when we go ahead and open that valve, before it might have been more sporadic crowds, they are now dense crowds that are coming into our property. So the likelihood of us having to complete another controlled stop is quite likely. Our stops are set for 120 seconds. So our audio system will go ahead and once we hit the button, it'll go ahead and inform people, your attention please. We're asking, I can't remember the exact verbiage, but we'll ask people to stop. It thanks everyone for the patience, informs people that we have more service coming, continues to thank people for their patience, and that will go for 120 seconds. And at the very end, it will thank everyone for your patience. The station is now reopened. We appreciate your time. Things along those lines. So that 120 seconds is how long we hold people for, because we've found that that is a sweet spot on being able to hold people long enough for us to clear the congestions that we're seeing within the station, but not too long where people's behavior starts to change and they become unwilling to wait any longer. So 120 seconds, but if we need, and we see this when we complete holds, the density becomes so great that it can quickly overwhelm the station again in a matter of seconds or minutes. So if we require an additional hold, we'll go ahead and place that hold. If we're having a challenging time, we'll sometimes have a hold for 120 seconds. We'll go ahead and release for 30 seconds and then rehold. Our ability to adjust the flow rate is by how many of these hold sequence we have in short proximity to each other. This here is showing us move into a stopped sequence. So we've moved into the stop, and now this is in our holding. You can see at the very back there, we have the stop sign on the LED screen. The audio switched to a hold audio messaging. And the crowd here starts to queue in this large open area. This area here can hold about 8,000 people. And that allows them to, hold them in a wide open area that's safe for them to be in, and it reduces the crowd densities that we see within the station. Now this here is the valve reopen. So one of the lessons learned when we first started doing this, we had the audio set as a countdown at the end. So we used to say, thank you everyone for your patience. We're going to be reopening in 10, 9, and we did a countdown there. And the hope was to continue to keep the attention of the crowd so we can extend the amount of time that we're holding them for while they still continue to be compliant. Well, the crowd, after having lots of fun at the event that they're at, we would get down to 1, and multiple times we'd hear, charge! Which running and yelling charge is not what we're looking for when it comes to managing large crowds. But yeah, so that's the valve reopening there. It's a large amount of people coming out at once. And yeah, we'll go ahead into the recap here. So today we focus on some of the risks that are present at Exhibition Go Station and the events that we do see at the station. Because of the infrastructure that's present and the large crowds that do approach our station, we have to put in crowd safety measures, active and passive crowd safety measures to ensure the safety of everyone that's approaching our property. Thank you for your time. It's my pleasure.
Question. I have a question. Do you think the station is too small?
Well, we are in the process of building a new station.
Okay.
So, Exhibition Go Station, in what I've showed there, is actually in a temporary form. It's in early works as we continue to build the Ontario line.
So you expand the same station, or?
So the Ontario line station will be just west of where the current station is, and it may still have some of the aspects of before, may continue to hold some of those pieces, but it'll be a largely new station that will be connected to Ontario line. It'll be a